So what's up, Chris?
Good. Thanks for willing to do this.
Absolutely. No problem at all. I like your hair a lot. Your hair is really cool.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. No problem. Can
You're
you see
actually,
me okay?
yeah, you're actually my 200th
Oh,
guest.
wow. Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. Well, 200. That's a nice even number. I'll take it.
Mhm. I actually just
All
watched.
right.
I just like the yesterday. I watched a Flicker.
Yeah.
Was that
Did
one
you
of your
like
like?
it?
Yeah. Was that pretty
That was
early?
like one of my first that was one of my first things I've ever done. My first animation things, I think, ever. Maybe it might be the first one I've ever done, actually. I think. Yeah. Wow. That was a long time ago. Did you like it?
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was an interesting thing. I think it was a college project that I had auditioned for and was lucky enough that they picked me, and it was a really cool concept.
Was that were you already in LA when you did that?
No, no, no. I only moved to LA recently in the past couple of months. Before that, I was in Massachusetts. So that's where I've booked most of my work actually, even back then.
I know Otto and Bradley must have been around that same time too.
Yeah, it was pretty close, and that was also another student project. I think I was on a casting call club when I auditioned for that, and that was for someone doing their thesis film for Sheridan Animation, and so talented. That was so cool, um, and that was like Flickr was really cool because again that was my first thing, but like doing Otto and Bradley was the first time I've seen like fluid, like really fluid animation, being a part of the whole process and everything like that. It was really neat.
Mhm.
But yeah, they were very close together.
And I guess like was your first more larger project the Wraiths and Ruin audiobook?
Yes, that was my very first professional project. That was my very first one, and it was I was really, really nervous to do that actually, because it was right around when the pandemic had hit, and they still didn't know whether or not they wanted to invite people into studio. Um, so they asked me to come, and at the time, because there's a lot of people in my family that are immunocompromised, and we didn't know what was going on as a not even just as a country, the whole world didn't know what was going on. I didn't want to risk it, so luckily I had bought a booth the year prior just in case, because I was in Massachusetts. I can't go out to studios, but maybe if I tell them I have my own studio, they'll still let me work. So luckily enough, I had the studio, and when they asked me if I wanted to go in studio, which at the time was in New York, so it was 3 hours away from me, and I didn't want to drive out all the way out of there anyway. So it was 3 hours away, and I said, no, I'm not going in studio with what's going on. And they said, okay, well, we need to get it done. Can you do it from your home studio? And I said, yeah, sure, I'm all set, I'm ready to go. Um, so we worked really hard, and I was extremely nervous. I was at the time, I think it was around springtime, but it was like really, really hot. At the time, it was like 90 degrees, and I can't have the air conditioner on or at my old house because my walls were good in my booth, but they weren't super thick, so sound was still going through, and I was right next to a wall, and it was central air conditioning, so that you can hear it through the wall, so it had to be off. Meaning I was sweating like crazy on top of it, me being nervous. I think I almost passed out once. They're like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine," but I was not fine. But I finished it good. But that was my very first professional project, and I think it kind of springboarded me into not a whole bunch of success. I didn't get a lot of opportunities after that, but it was more so around that time. Uh, I kind of people knew started who I was, because at the time I think I only had like 300 followers on Twitter, and I wasn't getting any anime, or I didn't have an agent or anything like that. So at the time, a lot of people were very gracious and retweeted my work and everything like that, and my announcement, and so people were like, oh, because up until then I had been uploading a lot of like not demos, but like little clips of me voice acting and things like that, and I had my own demo, but I didn't really nobody had seen it. I was just trying to put out work so that people, it didn't look like I was doing nothing all the time. But because of that, people had seen it and they were like, oh, this AJ guy is pretty good. You should consider him. Again, I didn't get a lot of opportunities, but I got people that were actually doing some really cool stuff to talk about me and saying like, oh, there's this kid you should watch out for. So that helped me a lot. But that was my first like professional project, I'd say. Yeah.
And it looks like, do you still actively do audiobooks?
I do. I do. Not as much. Audiobooks are cool, but they take a lot of time.
Right.
And it's a lot of vocal strain to do it because you have to talk. All the audiobooks I've done have been for bigger production houses. They're not really so sometimes like if you were to go on ACX, which is like the audiobook like section for Amazon, pretty much the indie version of audiobooks, you can go on ACX, and then if you book, you could potentially, they'll be like, okay, you have 3 months to record this book. And sorry, if I'm looking over here, I'm just watching my dog to make sure he doesn't eat any metal off the floor or something. He'll find something. But they're like, oh, you have 3 months in order to read this book. But when you're doing big production houses, you usually have like 3 days, and they'll give you an engineer. And if, before the pandemic, you'll studio, and you'll record in studio, but they'll give you 3 days to do the entire book. So that's what I was doing. And those days was 8 to 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then right after that, excuse me, at the time I wasn't super busy, like with A Song of Wraiths and Ruin and whatnot. It's still a lot, and after doing 3 days of talking 8 hours a day, nonstop to get it done, your voice gets really tired. And now because I'm working more on anime and cartoons and video games and things like that, I don't really have I have to be very selective about when I choose to do things, because if I'm very busy and I'm working on like a show, like a cartoon or something like that, they need me contractually, and if I can perform, they'll recast me. So if I choose to do an audiobook for 3 days straight, I better make sure that's like, okay, work is winding down in other areas, and I can do this and not worry about my voice. So I still actively do audiobooks, but I think that first year I did like 7. I don't think I'm going to hit that number again for a little bit. I've 1 or 2 a year, didn't hurt anybody. But yeah, I still do them. They're fun. Yeah.
And were you still also not in LA when you got to audition for JJK and Eternity?
Yeah. No. I was in JJK was actually my first anime audition ever. And that was in Massachusetts as well. At the time, I was just kind of, I was friends with Anaris, and Zeno and stuff like that, but I hadn't really industry like that. And because the way anime tends to work is like, you have to know who the cast and directors are, who the directors are, because they use people that they trust to get the job, because ADR is so technical that they usually don't pick up anybody and give them a shot, because it's a more intensive process, and if you're too slow, it can hold back the entire production. So I wasn't getting a lot of opportunities. So what I had done was I just sent out blanket emails to every production studio I could think of in America, for anime. And Studiopolis at the time, who does JJK, were the only ones that kind of reached out and gave me a shot. I didn't book it, but my first opportunity. I actually lost my voice because of that. I wanted to be so bad that I was like, not that I wanted to be Sukuna, I wanted to impress, and I knew, because my voice is very high, I wasn't going to play Sukuna. Ray Chase Sukuna, and it's make it nuts. But for me, I just wanted to impress them, so I did this like super demonic voice that was gravelly, and I did it over and over and over and over because I wanted it to sound good. And they didn't go with me, but I ended up losing my voice to that. But yeah, that was my first ever anime audition, and I did that in Massachusetts. Yeah.
So was Kemono Jihen was your first role then?
It's interesting. Yes, but also, well, I guess so. Yeah. So Kemono Jihen, I had auditioned for in Massachusetts, and then I was away. I was traveling at the time, and then I got I think a DM, Britt Lotta, who is the director for that, DM me on Twitter being like, hey, like sent me a picture of Shiki. And I was like, why did you do that? Yeah, I booked that. And then a week later, I had booked Tokyo Revengers. I had optioned for weeks prior, but I don't think I heard anything. No, sorry. So Tokyo Revengers, I auditioned for the previous week before I heard about Kemono Jihen. The week before that, Kemono Jihen had it for 2 weeks, all right, prior to me hearing about it. So it had been a while. I didn't think I booked it, and then the whole production reasons and things that and delays that happened for the reason why I didn't hear about it for so long. I had Kemono Jihen, and a literal week later I booked Pure Avengers. So yeah, by technicality, yeah, Kemono Jihen was the very first thing I booked. Tokyo was very close. Yeah.
Who do you think you have more personal relation with between them?
That's tough. Probably Shiki. Probably Shiki just because he was an orphan sort of thing. He was kind of related to that. Also, it's kind of easy honest because Takemichi, there's a lot of things, his anxiety, his want to better himself and everything like that related to that. But ooh, it's pretty close actually. I say I choose. They're pretty close, and that's not me just being like I don't want to pick, but I honestly don't know. Both for different reasons, you know.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry.
No,
But yeah, so where were we?
I think I was about to bring up something else, so it's fine.
Okay.
Kind of ties in, I guess. One of my signature questions is always asking what the darkest emotional headspace you've had to go for a character is so far.
Like the farthest, like where I've had to go.
Yeah. I was gonna guess it was Platinum End, maybe.
Oh, well, no, not really, actually. Platinum End, I weirdly enough, because of how dramatic it is, I was like, I thought it was kind of silly.
Oh,
Like I thought like it was definitely a serious show and a lot of the stuff was depressing, but just like I couldn't help but just the way it was the way that he was delivering his lines in Japanese. I I found it a little like comical and like kind of he was so grandiose about the whole thing. Um but no, the Platinum End was fun to do. I've actually just finished recording that very recently. But probably episode 4 of Tokyo Revengers was like just because I wanted to make sure I got it right. It was a scene without, I guess, spoiling for anybody. It was there was a rooftop, and he's with another character, and they kind of have a long discussion. And that scene, I was like, I wanted to make sure that I went into it completely serious, no joking with the director or engineer or anything like that. I wanted to make sure that I got it right because I feel like it was very, very important, not only to the character, because that was like when the story starts, really. Because before episode 4, he's kind of just like, what is going on? He doesn't really know what's happening to him. But then episode 4 hits and he's like kind of getting it. He's like, oh, okay, life's good. And then the show takes a very dramatic turn towards, I guess, it leapfrogs for the rest of the series, even up until now in the manga. Is all based off of that episode, that one decision he makes after that episode. So I wanted to make sure I got it right. So and on top of that, it was very emotional. So that was probably the furthest I've had to go for any particular show, I think. Yeah, it was that was a lot. Yeah.
do you think that you have a personal preference for doing heavier dramatic projects?
Oh, absolutely. I tend to get a lot of comedic stuff just because my voice and because I'm a very animated person in terms of like when I'm acting and stuff anyway. So I think, excuse me, I am good at booking those sorts of things, but I've always preferred kind of deeper, more dramatic, um, grounded stuff, even in comedy, rather than wacky comedy. I kind of prefer like comedy that relies on, the script and like really, really good writing that's just funny. The Office type, stuff where it's just like they're not saying the line super crazily. It's just the comedic timing of it all, and that's really cool to me. So I'd say I do have a preference towards the more dramatic and serious, and maybe even darker stuff. I like those sorts of characters because they tend to be more interesting. Oftentimes, the main characters of shows are windows for the audience.
Right.
If you're playing video games, even a lot of times the main character doesn't talk much, or if they do talk, they're kind of cookie cutter. And it's the characters around them that are almost more interesting, and that's just because you as the player are supposed to be, it's a first person game, you're not seeing the person you're playing as, you're supposed to put yourself into their shoes. And it's kind of the same way across all forms of media. So I kind of prefer to like I think personally Naruto is my favorite anime, but I think between if we're saying that Naruto is an archetype and Sasuke is an archetype, I prefer to play the Sasuke's, the Killuas, the kind of foil to the main character, rather than the actual main character, because they tend to be more interesting, and more interestingly written for the most part. Now, obviously, that's not the case all the time. I think exceptions are like Deku, from My Hero and stuff like that. But I tend to like to play those characters more, which is why I like to play Shiki a lot. He was a lot of fun because I thought there was a lot more to him than any of the other characters. Everybody respectively, obviously playing those characters did a fantastic job, but I really liked Shiki's arc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully Kemono Jihen gets another season, because the manga gets really intense.
Does it? Yeah, I haven't read the manga, but I hope so too, because I just had so much fun just being in that. Yeah, that was a great time. I hope. It sucks because it came out the same time Jujutsu Kaisen
Yeah.
came out and everything, so it was a really great anime that kind of got overshadowed by an even greater anime in terms of popularity. So that kind of sucked, but I do hope they do come out with a second season. That'd be really cool.
And talking about all of your larger characters, do you still think, outside of just Shiki and Takemichi, do you still think that you relate the most to Shiki, or is there somebody else?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, there's definitely, I've played bigger characters since then. Some of which I haven't announced yet, but I look forward to. But I think in terms of relation, I still think Shiki is probably like one of my better performances. I think close would be Joko, from Shaman King. I think Joko was a lot of fun, and I thought it was a very interesting take on Joko too, because he's a black character, and I find that oftentimes in media these days, it's black characters tend to be written kind of where black is their identity, where it's the way they talk and everything like that, and black struggle is talked a lot, and that's kind of a part of Joko's background. But I thought for the most part he was just a really well written character who just wanted to do good, and I could see his motivations, and he was a lot of fun. I can't say I related to him, but in terms of fun, I think he's probably between him and Shiki have probably been the most fun I've had playing an anime character so far. But I'd say in terms of who I relate to the most, probably still Shiki, even to this point. Yeah.
Was there anything that you could relate to Shuji with?
At the baseline, I guess, is depression.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say as dark as his depression is, but his depression, I think everybody in that show is depressed. But I think because it's so extreme, it's so like, I hate everything, but he doesn't really hate everything. I guess he's just kind of like, oh well, life sucks. and everybody else's life must suck too. So whatever. I think this whole thing, and I've never really thought like that, but I can relate with like everything just seeing like it sucks, everything about the world is being like, ah man, nothing's good. We've all had our periods in time where we've just been kind of down, and it doesn't seem like anything can lift you up. So I think in that sense, the story of Platinum End and his story in particular is important, because I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of like, well, the world's terrible and nothing's gonna make it any better. But I also don't really, I'm tend to be a pretty optimistic person, so I always, even if I am in those moments, I'm always like, well, tomorrow can be better. Even I can't say tomorrow will be better, but it can always be better. So in that way, I guess playing the opposite of how I feel was kind of fun. But I can relate to his depression though.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And going back to Shaman King, this is probably obvious, but I take it you were familiar, like, did you watch the original series?
No, no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no. Yeah, no. I'd never watched it. I just knew it was a big deal. I knew a lot of people were excited for it to come back. I was excited for it because after, I did a little bit of research. His name used to be Choco Love, and he had the big fat lips and everything like that. But then, I liked his design a lot better. In the new version, I think his powers look cooler, and everything like that. But I actually didn't know anything about it. I just knew it was a cool property that would have been fun to be a part of, and I was lucky enough to be a part of it. Um, but yeah, no, I don't think. No, I don't think I'd ever watched a single episode of the show. I'd heard of it though. I had heard of it, but I've never watched it or read the manga though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know, of course, that you guys all recorded separately, but has there been a case where you were like really starstruck in terms of who you were cast alongside of, or?
Yeah. Well, not Shaman King, but definitely, that one show I'm in. What is the name of it? Baki,
Yeah.
because Troy Baker is my hero in terms of like voice actors. So I was like, whoa. And Rumina was like a character that was shared multiple scenes with him, and I was like, whoa. And I was telling my engineer slash director at the time, about that. I was like, Troy Baker means a lot to me, and he's the reason why I'm here and the reason why I'm acting, and she was like, I'll tell him that. And I said, and she's like, yeah, I'll let him know you said that. So I don't know if she did relay that at all. I had made a tweet, uh, I think it was like the actor I wanted to be versus the actor I am. I think I came to terms with the fact that I will never be Troy Baker and I will never be so and so people, but I will always be myself, and I can be the best person I can be. So I made a side by side picture of like him, the actor I wanted to be, and me, the actor I am. And then he had commented and said, I think somebody added him on Twitter and said, "Hey Troy, look at this guy," or whatever, something like that. And he was like, "I hope he achieves everything I've achieved and more." And I was like, Troy, you're so nice. But no, that was very nice of him. And that was probably the most starstruck I've been, working on a project with somebody, working the most starstruck I've been since then, because I haven't really had much opportunity because only studios are only just now starting to open up.
Mhm.
I was recording somewhere and I saw Fred Tatasciore
Mm.
in the halls, and I was like, "Whoa, that's weird, Fred Tatasciore." But yeah, no, that was probably my biggest starstruck moment. I had when I realized I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be in this thing with my hero." Yeah.
Mhm. I would guess too that a lot of people from Naruto inspired you.
Yeah, Miley Flanagan. Miley Flanagan is a big one, and Miley luckily is at CESD also. So we share an agent. So I joined CESD, and I was like, Molly's here, and my agent was like, "Yeah, do you want me to let her know you said hi?" I was like, "Yes." So she was like, "Oh, give him my number. Obviously don't give it out to anybody, but give him my number and we'll chat." And so we sat and we talked for about an hour. And she sounds obviously exactly like Naruto. It's just her voice, which is so crazy. I was like, I'm talking to Naruto. But no, she isn't. She is super sweet, and she's only been nice to me since I've known her. But she was also a big hero for mine. Not necessarily because of her acting, even though she is a freaking amazing actor, and I would love to be as good as her one day. But because of how much Naruto meant to me as a child before I even knew what anime was or anything like that, it meant a lot. Yuri also would be great to me. I'm not as big of a fan of Sasuke. I have nothing against Sasuke. You know, I think he's a great character. Also means a crap ton to me and my upbringing. And I would love to meet him. But I think in general, like my voice acting pinnacle was Miley Flanagan and Troy Baker. And I got to, well, I didn't get to, I haven't interacted with Troy yet, but I got to be in a show with him, and then I got to speak with Miley for a good amount of time, and she was very nice. So I've checked all my boxes so far.
Yeah, just having interviewed Tara, Platt, and Yuri as well, they're just like it's like certain people are like right here, and then both of them are like,
Yeah, there's some people that are just like, oh, I would love to just touch the ground you walk on, you know. I'm sure they won't. I'm sure if you were to talk to them and you know, ever relay that information, or if anybody was to say that about them, they would brush it off. But really are some people that are just so incredibly good at what they do. It's ridiculous. And I would love to be that good one day. You know, I've done some stuff. I've done some pretty cool stuff in my short amount of time here, but you know, compared to their 30+ year long career, 30-year careers, you know, I haven't really done shit, anything. So yeah, no, it's really cool to be able to interact with some of the veterans in the industry and stuff like that, going to cons and, you know, meeting people. It's really cool.
Mhm. So then, so going back, your character in Love of Kill kind of stands out from all the other ones.
Oh yeah, he's an interesting guy. Jim is weird. I didn't know how to play Jim at first, because have you heard the Japanese at all?
Yeah.
He talks kind of funny, and I didn't audition for Jim. They just brought me in for him because they're like, we think you can do it. So I came in and I was like, what do I don't know what to do with this character, because I didn't want him to sound like a caricature. I didn't want him to sound like this weird cartoon character in this world. So I tried my best, and I think the first couple sessions, you might be able to hear it in the first episode or two, or you know, me trying to find Jim and what he sounds like and how he talks and everything like that. But towards the end, I was like, I really like this character. He's interesting. He's fun. Yeah, Jim's cool. Jim's cool.
And speaking of just being cast, not having to audition, was that your experience with Cookie Run too? Because I've heard it kind of varies with people.
No, yeah, no. I auditioned for Cookie Run. I didn't know what it was under a code name when I auditioned for it. I didn't know what it was, and there was no like vocal reference that I got from the Korean. I just kind of was like, oh, this is what I think this character would sound like. And I auditioned and I got cast. So that was that experience, and Cookie Run was cool too, to do. And I mean, I guess continue to do since it's ongoing, but I don't really record super often for that at all. So yeah.
Well, it is really surprising how large of a fan following that Poison Mushroom Cookie has specifically.
Yeah, I don't know. Everybody loves Poison Mushroom Cookie. I'm not sure why they like them so much, but I think it's just because they're so like ditzy and kind of wholesome. You can't help but like them. So yeah.
And then with Genshin, were you auditioning for like a playable character first?
Oh, so Genshin, I've only auditioned once for a playable character with Genshin. That was when I was with my old agency. Ever since then, I haven't auditioned for a character yet. I haven't gotten any audition sides, but I'm in it as NPCs, because I had taken a class with the casting director, and he was very nice. I sent him my demo, and he's like, here's some stuff that you can do to be a part of this thing. So that's cool. But I've only auditioned for a playable character once, and that was I can say because he was released recently. But he had like he was kind of autumn themed. Do you think he had white hair?
Oh, Kazuha.
Kazuha, yeah, I auditioned for Kazuha, but I didn't get Kazuha, obviously. But that was the only character I auditioned for, and that was quite a while ago. There was a big gap between when I auditioned and when he actually came out. But yeah, I hope so. I mean, I hope if there's any expansions or if there's any more characters that comes out, I get the chance to, but I haven't yet.
Mm-hmm. Do you watch the media that you're in?
I do. I do because I have a big head and I love to look at me. I'm so good. But I think a lot of people it's different. Like Zeno will tell you, like if you ever interview Zeno, if you have like Zeno doesn't, or he watches it but he like hates himself. He's like, man, I should have said that differently, or man, I should have approached that line differently. For me, I'm like, wow, I am pretty good at what I do. But then I don't watch it again. It depends. There's some things I'm really proud of, especially when it first comes out. Like I'll always watch something. I probably won't follow the whole series unless I'm like really interested in the series itself. Just because there's work and all this other stuff. It's, I have to be selective about what I choose to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But I do always like to be like, wow, in a more serious, so like this is I did this and that's really weird. It's still weird to this day when I'm listening to things and I'm like, that's my voice, that's crazy. But I always do like to hear, because I don't remember, sometimes there's kind of gaps between when I get to hear things and when I originally recorded. So it's nice to be like, oh, okay, they went with that take, oh, that's cool. And oh, all right, this is what we all sound like together. It's nice to hear the ensemble cast, because like you said earlier, we all record separately, so it's sometimes you're doing the lines and nobody else has recorded yet in your scene, so all you're hearing is Japanese, so you don't know how people are going to respond to you or anything like that. So it's cool.
More of a vocally technical question. What do you think is the case where you've had to alter your voice the most significantly so far?
For anime or just in general?
Just in general.
Oh, probably. I don't know, actually. Actually, there's a character in, oh boy, what's it called? Oh, it's bothering me. But there's a JRPG that I was Lost Ark. And
Okay.
Lost Ark, yeah, I did a bunch of characters, and honestly, I couldn't tell you who the character is because it was so many, and I don't really remember. But there was one character where he was like old, and I have a very not old sounding voice, so pushing my voice towards an old man for a long period of time was fun. But then I was like, oh, I'm fighting. Like I have to scream now in this old man voice that I definitely cannot sustain. So that was very difficult, and that's probably the most I've had to push my voice. But as far as like otherwise, though, I think Poison Mushroom Cookie has been was I had to push my voice a bit for that. I've had to play around with my voice in other areas, but I think those are the most where it's like, oh wow, this is like difficult. So yeah.
It seems like maybe Musashi is a little bit higher than your normal too.
Musashi, not really. He's kind of. It depends. It depends on the moment.
Yeah.
I try to keep him kind of away from Takemichi. Sometimes I might fail at that, but I try to keep him kind of like not as high pitched, because I think he would just sound cooler not as high pitched. Shiki is definitely like slightly deeper actually than most things, but Musashi is kind of like, he's kind of all over the place. Sometimes he's high, sometimes he's deeper than even Shiki, and sometimes he's like in the middle of my range, which is like my normal kind of speaking voice. But yeah, he's kind of all over the place depending on what scene you're watching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Orient is pretty cool because at least for me personally, it feels like it's more of a 90s kind of anime.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those turn your brain off and just like have fun. One of those
Yeah.
adventures. It's not like technically like, oh, who's betraying who and who's doing this and what does this mean? It's just one of those shows. It's like you just sit down and you have fun. And I think that's what the mangaka said. I think she after Magi, because Magi is a very, very complicated story once you get later on. She was just like, I don't want to do that again. I just want to have fun and just write stuff down and draw. And I don't know where. I haven't read the manga for Orient, so I don't know how complicated it gets in the future, but right now it just seems kind of cookie cutter. It's an anime and it's fun.
Mhm.
I like it.
And then what's the name? Oh yeah, now Yasu is probably like one of your most grounded characters.
Oh, that's what is that from?
Sane high school boys volleyball.
Oh, yes. That was fun too. Again, I prefer to do stuff like that where it's just me talking. I'm not doing any like crazy like ha ha ha, all over the place. You never eat pizza, but that's fun. And I think every anime character tends to have their deep moment, but I prefer the anime that are kind of like the slice of life where even though slice of life can sometimes be extra too, it's more just grounded. It's just characters talking and interacting, and that was a really fun thing to do because the director kind of just let me do what I wanted. Um, no shade to any directors I've worked with before. I mean, everybody has their vision and their place in the project, but he was very much like, oh no, like if it fits Flap and it sounds good, it's good with me too. So I didn't really I feel constrained at all. It was fun.
It's a similar thing with your character in Irina, the Vampire Cosmonaut, too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that was fun. And Chris George is a great director as well. Um yeah, yeah. Irina was cool. I really liked that character too. I thought he looked cool.
Yeah. What's your story of getting involved with Odd Taxi?
I was autocast.
Oh,
Yeah, they just asked the casting director just thought I would be a good fit. So she cast me for that, and that was also interesting, and that was my first time working with I think it's Bill, the director, Bill Millsap, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a great director, because directing can be kind of hard, and it's very directing for dubbing is very different than anything else because a lot of it's technical, and I find the best directors are often able to make technical lingo like speak faster, right? They'll be like, go faster so you can fit the flaps so it doesn't look like there's silence while their mouth is moving. But instead of be faster, he'll be like, hey, have this emotional moment make you speak faster, right? Because it keeps you in the moment. It's very easy to not act as well because you're so worried about the technical aspect of things that you're not thinking about the character anymore. You just want to get it done. Um, so Bill and I think a lot of really, really good directors are very able to change their speech from just go faster or can you slow down, to slow down because he's trying to find the words or something like that. Those are directions, and he does that, and he's really great.
Mhm. I've also found too that people kind of have different answers as to how they took the dubbing. Was it hard for
Mhm.
you at first?
No, it was kind of easy, and not well, it wasn't easy. It was I think my number one issue was ignoring punctuation because punctuation in anime scripts doesn't matter. A comma does not mean to take a pause. It's just kind of there for the writer. Um, so learning to be like ignore the period, ignore the comma was interesting, um because a whole different type of linguistics for the writer. Like a slash means a pause, but a period doesn't mean anything. So figuring that out was difficult, but as far as like timing and stuff like that, that came pretty easy. That wasn't that hard for me. I was always a good cold reader, and I was always a good reader in general growing up. So taking that and moving into picture and everything it took a slight adjustment period, probably a couple sessions. I was also lucky enough to where I was working as a lead character on two different shows at the same time, so I had a lot of time to just between the shows to just work out the kinks. But in general, I wouldn't say it was too difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've taken classes with people like Mary Elizabeth McGlynn and stuff, haven't you?
Mary Elizabeth McGlynn is a fantastic human. I love Mary Elizabeth McGlynn. She is probably one of the, I want to work with her actually where she's the director so badly. And she's an amazing actor as well. She directed Naruto. Oh my gosh. Cowboy Bebop. She's amazing. She does more prelay. She doesn't really do anime. Doesn't do anime anymore. But yeah, no, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn is really, really neat. It's always nice to work with directors who are really good actors, or are really good actors. I took a workshop with JB Blanc recently, and he's amazing. He's an Arcane, and he plays Caustic and Apex Legends and all this other stuff. And having somebody that's a better actor than me and also a really good director tell me how I should approach a line is just invaluable, and it's really hard to find, because a lot of directors in prelay are not actors. So and there's a lot of actors in the anime world, but directing is also its separate skill. Not everybody is just the best director in the world. Again, no shade to anybody that has directed me or anything like that. But it's a separate thing that also takes its own honing, and it takes a lot of experience to kind of find, like, how do you communicate with people? How do you communicate with multiple different people and get your point across, different acting styles and get your point across and stuff like that. And that's really hard to do. So finding somebody that's not only an incredible actor, but also an incredible director to teach you is so, it's gold if you can.
Is directing also something that you have aspiration to do, you think?
Not really. I don't think I'm in a, I don't think, because for the same reason I just said, that like it's one thing to be able to be a good actor, but being able to tell other good actors, get a whole bunch of other good actors like to come together to make one cohesive thing, is harder. Same thing with teaching. It's one thing to be a good actor or a good chef or something, but can you tell somebody else how to do it? If somebody was to ask me, what's my process, I might be able to tell them bare bones, but to be able to break it down into something like a preschooler could understand is something, I think is its own skill, that I don't think I'm quite ready to take on. I'm thinking about, dabbling just to try and see if I like the process in general, just not with anybody that's going to be giving you $300, but just, here, 20 bucks. Yeah. I was thinking about it, but in terms of like actually pursuing it as where I am right now in my career, I have no aspirations, but 10 years down the line, that might change.
Yeah. It is cool to see, not sure if you're totally aware of their history, but I mean, people like Michael Sorge and Julie Madalena, who have been doing it since the 80s, are still in anime.
Yeah, Michael Sorge, I just worked with him for the first time recently on a dub, and he is a trip. He's a character, but he's also like one of the sweetest guys ever. And he's so good. And he does a great job in JJK, and obviously Gamabunta and all the other characters he's done. He's incredible. But yeah, there are still those people that have been here since kind of the beginning, Colin Klinkenbeard and stuff like that are just killing it to this day. Christopher Sabat directs. He doesn't really do anime like that, but he does like other stuff, and he has Okatron that he owns and stuff, and Sabat's amazing. And also a really nice guy. So yeah, it's really cool to see.
So out of the original animation experiences you've had, which one came first?
High Guardian is the first thing that's come out. The other stuff I have, I can't talk about, but yeah, High Guardian is the first thing that's come out. But the very first time I've done prelay was last year. Last year, I think May-ish. I did a pilot for a network, but I haven't seen that, so I don't know what that looks like or if it got picked up or anything. I don't know anything about it. And then I'm a lead character on another network show that's going to come out. And I still haven't really seen. There's no finished animation or anything like that. But that's the first thing I booked. I booked High Guardian Spice kind of towards the end of the process. I was like the last actor to record for that, actually. So yeah, but that's the first thing to come out because they already had animation. They had everything pretty much done already, and I just came in and just added my voice to it, which is so in a way it was kind of like dubbing, but I guess it technically wasn't. So yeah.
Has there been many instances where you've gotten to perform with yourself? Yeah.
Oh, any instances where I've gotten to perform with myself? What do you mean?
Like
Like,
play characters against each other or something.
oh, I don't think that's happened yet.
Okay.
Like maybe in super small stints, like if I'm playing but because my voice, I won't say it's unique, but I think it's very easy to tell it's me. Um, then again, I don't want to toot my own horn. I mean, you can do that with a lot of people, but like I have such a particularly high voice and I talk in a particular way that I oftentimes, even if I am cast as another character that interact with my character, unless it's a wildly different voice, they tend to not give me multiple characters because it's very easy to be like, oh, why is Shiki talking to himself? Or oh, why is Takemichi talking to himself? I'm not as good at masking it quite yet. But when I have to do a character that's like, talking like this, and then a character that's talking like, then maybe, but like, for the most part, not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was looks like Bada Bean was pretty recent.
Bada Bean was the first thing I booked from Bang Zoom. That was kind of when they were just kind of giving me some chances here and there. Um, that was also a dubbing project. I think it's dubbed from a Portuguese animation show. It
Okay.
could be Portuguese, Brazilian, something like that. Yeah, no, that was fun, and that was. Well, I don't even remember when I booked that. I could go into my email actually and find out. Let's see, March or April of last year.
Okay.
Yeah, so around this time actually. Yeah, and it took a little bit to come out though. And I had to come back and like record a couple times, but it was good though. Yeah, that was fun. And that was, like I said, my first thing I ever got from Bang Zoom.
Mhm.
So that was fun.
What was the what was Omen? That looked pretty interesting.
Oh, that's an audio drama. That's an audio drama about kind of piracy. It was based off of a kind of like how Critical Role is based off of or the show is based off of,
Oh,
D&D and everything.
yeah.
This was based off a show called or a board game called I don't even know if it was a board game, but a role-playing game called Pathfinder. Um, it was the creator's like own game that he had with his friends and everything like that. And he's also a writer, and his wife is a writer as well. And he said, I want to make this into a show. So he made it into an audio drama, and that was a lot of fun. Actually, that's probably some of the most fun I've ever had because we did group records for every episode, and it was so fun because it's such a rarity to be able to play off your castmates, and my castmates were all so good at what they do. So that was a lot of fun. But I played Tobias, who is like a know-it-all kind of geek who doesn't really have friends, and they're on this quest to save a little girl. And it
Okay.
becomes a lot more. But it was a lot of fun to do. And I to be honest, I think it's some of my best work too. So yeah, I love to show people Omen whenever I can. Yeah.
And did you get into SAG earlier, or is it just, or was it pretty recent?
SAG, I got with the same week I joined my first agency, I was SAG eligible. I held off on joining SAG for a very long time because I didn't have the money to pay to join. It was like $3,000 for the initiation fee, and I didn't know there was a payment plan that you can do and everything like that. But I became SAG eligible very 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 early in my journey, um, or my professional journey, I should say. So that was December of 2020 is when I became
Oh,
SAG eligible. I didn't join until I think middle of last year. Um, but I had been SAG eligible since then.
mhm. Yeah, that is one thing I've found too, that everyone's SAG story is pretty different and crazy depending on what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. I had booked I had done a radio commercial. Was my first SAG gig. It was for Taco Bell. I think they're ch cheesy fries. Around Halloween they were like coming back, so I did that. So yeah, was fun. But that was my first ag thing. Yeah.
So is there anything else that's upcoming that you can safely talk about, or is it pretty much all secretive?
No, there's one thing I really, 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 really I want to talk about it so bad, and I am waiting for them to announce it, and I'm so angry because I'm like, come on, I'm almost done recording. How have I not been announced yet? But when that happens, that will be super cool. I'll be very excited. But in terms of that I'm actually more excited for that than the Prelay show that I'm in, which is probably a bigger deal. But that is what I'm most excited for, and that's coming up very soon. But there's nothing else that I can talk about as of right now. But there is a cool character that I'm playing that I'm hopefully going to be able to announce in the next, like, I hope month at least, or next couple months. I'm praying.
Okay.
Right, but I don't know. Hopefully soon.
I am personally surprised that you haven't been in Fire Emblem Heroes yet.
I know. I would love to be. It's just kind of I'm kind of known at this point, but I'm not like a big deal or anything like that. So not every studio knows who I am. I try my best to get out there, get my name out there and everything like that. And I think I'm starting to become more known. But I just did an anime project with a different studio for the first time a couple weeks ago, and the director was like, "So, have you done any anime? Have you done any direction?" I was like, "Yeah, I've done a couple," but not everybody is. The industry is so fast moving and so much, so people are just so busy with trying to do their jobs that it's impossible for them to keep track of everybody. So I'll probably get that opportunity at some point, but I haven't gotten it yet. But it would be cool to be a part of. I would love to be a part of Fire Emblem in some way, shape, or form. It's really cool. I mean, I didn't read for it, of course, because it's already cast and everything. But the upcoming Three Houses game that they kind of, yeah, that was really cool, and I'm looking forward to dive into that when that comes out. But in terms of actually being a part of the world, I haven't gotten that opportunity yet, but it would be cool though when I do.
Well, one thing I've noticed is that Cup of Tea, especially now, they seem really good with giving new names a chance.
Yeah, Cup of Tea is interesting. I really Cup of Tea is, they are hard to get into, but they are open to casting new people, which is really cool. As long as they hear what they want to hear on the audition side, they're not opposed to casting anybody, which is I respect them for.
Mm-hmm. So I know that your career is still blossoming, of course, but my final question is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
Ah, man, I don't know if I want it to be positive. I don't want any like negative. I like that nothing bad has happened yet in my life to where I'm like, oh no, I hope they don't find out. I'm just kind of here and I'm just doing the best I can. And my dream has always been to hopefully touch as many people's lives as I possibly can. Going to cons is so cool because, voiceover is a secluding job, and that, my booth is right here in my house, and, I'm working on some cool things, but, I don't get to, it's not like you're a movie star and you can go to a movie theater and you can watch your movie along with all the fans and like see their reactions. So not everybody is lucky enough to be invited to cons. So when I do get a chance to go, seeing people that actually really, really do appreciate my work means the world to me, and goes to my panels and everything like that. It means the world to me. So I guess I want my legacy just to be a positive one. I don't really care what I do. There's goals that I have for my career. Like I want to do performance capture, and I want to work more in AAA video games and stuff. That's my ultimate goal. It always has been. I've always wanted to be like the next Troy Baker. I want to, put on the suit and, do stuff like that. But win a game award, win a BAFTA, those are really cool things that I would like to do. But in terms of like what I want my legacy to be, I just want to be a part of as many cool projects as possible so that I can affect as many people as I can positively while I'm still on the earth,
Is there something that you want people to take away from your performances so far?
Not really anything in particular. I think whatever people get from them is like that's what they got from it. I just want people to know that I'm always trying my best. I'm always trying to give it 100%, no matter how big or small the role is. And I hope that they enjoy it, whatever it is that is their favorite, even things that aren't the biggest. I had people come up to me for Aruna-kun, uh, or yeah, Demon, Welcome to Demon School.
Yeah.
Yeah, and tell me about like how they like really like my character in that. And to me, I'm like, oh, that I didn't think that was a character that anybody would care about. But every small bit means something to somebody, and whatever that means is up to them. But um, yeah, so nothing in particular, but I hope whatever it is, again, it's a positive thing they get from it, and not something like I hated this. He sucks, you know. But yeah.
Well, thanks. I'm glad that this finally worked out.
Yeah, dude. Sorry, I don't know. Sorry it took so long, but yes, I am happy to be your 200th interview, and I would love to watch more of your interviews that you've had before with with people. Your questions are awesome, and you've definitely like done your research, and I really do appreciate that. It means a lot to me, and I'm sure to everybody else that you've interviewed as well. So you're doing a great job, man. Keep it up. Keep it up. You're killing it.
It was funny back when I did Jack Dylan. He said that like the post that you do when you're announcing new roles with all the eyeballs, it helps to make him less scared about announcing stuff.
Yeah, there was a rule. There was like this weird unspoken rule to like not pretend, like to not kind of hype up your announcements and don't talk about what you want and all this stuff. And I came in, I was like, I don't care. Like if you don't like seeing the eyeballs, and if you're annoyed by my posts, like just mute me or block me. Like you don't, it's not a big deal. If you don't want to see it on your feed, no harm done. But like for me, I'm really proud of where I started Twitter. Um, I don't want it to be this thing where it's like Twitter is my life,
Yeah.
but without Twitter, I wouldn't have this career. And I started off super small and just being so happy for other people all of the time, and going into comments and being like, congrats, and like, oh my gosh, I know you can do it, and stuff like that. Um, that it means a lot to me that now I'm in a position where I can share my own victories while also still continuing to cheering on other people, and letting people know that like it's okay to be happy about what you achieve, no matter how big or small. And you should be proud to talk about it, and you should be proud to speak about what things you're looking for. It's your life. You only get one, and screw everybody else. It doesn't really matter. Just live your life, do what you want, and if people have a problem with it, they can deal with it how they want to. But I'm glad that that has a positive effect, because it used to be a very like thing. It used to be a thing you should not do. Like it used to, when I was like learning about voiceover, they'd be like, don't talk about the things you want to do because it's unprofessional and you'll get your fans to sick on other. And it's like it's not really about all that. It's more so just I want this thing for myself. If I don't book the thing for myself, then I am more than happy to cheer on for whoever does. But if I do book the thing, you better be sure I'm going to talk about it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me. So yeah. And the eyeballs. I love the eyeballs. Those are my favorite.
Well, thanks. Have a good rest of your day and night then.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. And you keep on killing it with these interviews, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. See ya.
Have a good one.